following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Last night it was a fluke. Oklahoma had a lucky night defensively.
I'm glad you think so.
They got away with one. Good for them.
They really got away with one.
Porter Moser,
the most getting it away with ever.
Yeah, Porter Moser did not. The message wasn't relayed to Porter Moser. He didn't get the memo. And that is when you play in Manhattan, you lose.
Yeah, dude. What's the story there? Going a little off script.
I mean, he and Lon Kruger obviously didn't have that talk.
No, they didn't.
When you come into Manhattan, you can play well.
Right.
You can make it a good game.
Sure.
But you don't leave with a dub. And I believe now he's won 2 games in Manhattan. Won the first one and then won yesterday, and is now in his 3rd year.
Porter frickin' Moser.
Yeah.
He fell down at one point. Fell down.
He did.
He also, he's one of the more interesting coaches to experience as the public address announcer, just watching how they do things.
Yes.
Porter Moser, I swear to God, 4 or 5 times had to ask somebody. He just turned around and somebody says, "Did he make a free throw?" Obviously not, because they're going the other way here. He didn't make the free throw. But though I will mention this, we have ended our streak of 2 straight games of him getting angry with me because he misheard my announcement and thought a foul was on a particular player, and they pull him out because of foul trouble. And they're like, "Oh, I thought he said this." So they put the player back in because they weren't in foul trouble. Porter
frickin' Moser.
He's a character.
I kind of don't like him now if he's going to be trying to blame you for stuff. Dude, I don't like that. And I guess it could have been worse free throw wise. Did you see what happened at the DePaul basketball game?
No, what happened?
A guy thought they were shooting. It was a 1-and-1, I think what it was. He got the rebound and he threw it back to the referee. Like DePaul guy grabbed a rebound off a free throw and threw it back to the referee for him to inbound it. And he was like, "No, that was a live ball you caught." He thought it was like.
What was everybody else's reaction?
Everyone was like, "What are you doing?"
They just stood there?
Yeah, everyone was like, "What just happened?"
This is DePaul where they already unloaded their coach. So, yeah.
They're Rod Strickland. They need Rod Strickland bad. Man.
Oh, my.
So last night was just a fluke, or was all the refs' fault. Man. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner with Troy Coverdale, David G., and Owen Burke on the board today.
Ooh. Yeah, how much of that was payback for Coach opening his mouth on Saturday?
Yeah. There was a vendetta.
Yeah,
got a busy show. Vendetta. We're only on until 5:30. You got something, Owen?
No.
He's laughing.
This guy's trying to start something.
No, I'm just saying it's like.
Well, he's not the first I've heard say that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just saying it's kind of like if your favorite football team didn't even show up for the game.
In wrestling.
And then you are standing there and you're like, "Come on, guys, let's go get them." And then they don't go get them.
Yeah.
Well, Deej and Owen they'll relate to this here. To use some wrestling lingo, that could be called a receipt.
Oh, yeah.
Getting one back.
Oh, yeah.
I got one. I think I was stuck at work watching the game on Sunday. I think I scared off a couple customers probably. But this is what it is.
Oh, yeah, his Ravens.
Yeah.
Dunzo.
They were like, "Do you have this kind of baseball bat?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to use it here in 5 seconds if you don't get it in my face."
Yeah, all 3 TVs smashed.
Yeah.
Gone. I'm so excited to call later on.
Oof.
Ask him how he's doing with the defensive coordinator heading out to Seattle today.
God, it just gets worse.
We can talk about it later. Let's talk about it later. We got a busy show. We're only on until 5:30. K-State women, the number 2 team in the nation, going to get one back in Norman tonight when they face the Oklahoma Sooners from Lloyd Noble Center. That tips off a few minutes after 6 o'clock. Of course, coverage right here on K-Man. Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, will join us at 4:40. Guys, it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. AEW Dynamite tonight from my favorite place to visit in the United States, New Orleans, Louisiana, the UNO Lakefront Arena on campus of the University of New Orleans. Also means we're joined for one segment today, Derek Young from K-State Online. DY, let's actually lead off with talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes because Will Howard had his first press conference with the OSU media yesterday. You brought that to my attention, but I haven't listened to it yet. Did Will say anything interesting?
It depends on how you want to interpret what he had said, right? Because it was, I think some of the questions were a little bit more of the guided nature that probably steered him down a little bit of a path that potentially he didn't want to go down. But, asked about the receivers, he prefaced it by saying, I love my guys at Kansas State and I would never say anything bad about them. And then he went on to almost insinuate that Ohio State's receivers are more driven, work a little bit harder, and even used the phrase, they actually beg to catch balls from me.
Okay, so, yeah, you can interpret that as something throwing some dudes under the bus. At the same time, what can you find a transfer that has ever gone somewhere else and not talked a little bit more highly about what he's now playing with compared to what he previously had?
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard it from the transfers that come into Kansas State, whether it be Juju Brents or, Keegan Johnson. So, and I really don't think he was trying to be that vindictive, but let's be honest, he probably got to Ohio State, saw some of those dudes at wide receiver. I was like, whoa, I didn't have those at Kansas State. I think that's probably pretty accurate.
It could be taken as slightly harsh, but is he wrong? I mean, I think that's I wouldn't say he's necessarily wrong. You know what? Since we're on the topic of football, is the Cats are they gonna get that 2025 tight end in Lincoln Cure out of Goodland, the number 1 or number 2, depending where you look, number 1, number 2 player out of the state of Kansas for 25?
I think he's number 1. Well, it's tough between him and Andrew Babalola, the offensive lineman out of Blue Valley Northwest, who by the way was offered by Georgia today. Those two are, I think, probably who are fighting it over 1 and 2. Some would like to put Deshaun Brain, the tight end from Derby, in that discussion as well. Also a sensational offer sheet. Also considering Kansas State. Cure, the number 2 tight end in the entire country. If you're looking at on 3, I think Kansas State lands him. I don't know when, but I think Kansas State lands him.
Was it yesterday or 2 days ago that the whole staff was on a private jet out to Goodland to visit him?
Yeah, it must be nice, right? Too, just because I wish I got to drive 4 hours. No, I'm going to take a private jet instead.
Have you?
I wish I had.
Have you ever had that luxury? Have you ever been on a private jet?
No, have you? Is
No.
it really as luxurious as I want it to make it sound, or is it kind of overrated? I don't know.
I once made a half attempt to arrange something when last year K-State played KU in football here. And it was the same day as Manhattan High played in the state championship. And it could have been a tight turnaround. I was going to maybe try to say, hey, has anybody got a plane that I could quickly get back to Manhattan with? Didn't need it. I had plenty of time to get back, even though the game went to overtime. But no, I've barely even seen a private plane in person.
When I go on some of these basketball trips, I typically, now it's not a private plane, but I always see their chartered plane that's next to ours. So they're getting ready to leave as well.
Yeah. I've only sat first class one time also. It's been a long time. DY, obviously the big topic is the Oklahoma loss yesterday. The Cats have now lost 3 in a row. Just extremely rough offense, missing shots, not getting good shots. Running offense was super tough against Oklahoma. Sooners were trying to play lights out defense and did a good job with that. But heading into the game, did you like the matchup for K-State? Did you like K-State's chances of pulling off that win?
I did. I thought that they would respond well to the 2 road losses, and I thought, being back in Bramlage Coliseum, where they've only lost 2 games total under Jerome Tang and only 1 conference game ever, they're under Jerome Tang. I expected a better performance. And when they came out and basically didn't score for the first 8 or 9 minutes, I knew that they were in for it. Now, there was times in the first half where I thought it was getting away from them, and I was getting a little worried, but I always thought that they would come back and make it a pretty competitive game. And then when they did that and closed the gap to 51-44 and got 2 defensive stops, I'm dead set honest with you. I actually thought they were going to win that game when it closed it to within 7. And then Oklahoma, they missed 2 3-pointers. All you had to do was get a rebound. They didn't get one. It turns out, they get the extra points there. And then Kansas State, I think Tyler Perry, he dribbles it out of bounds. Oklahoma comes down, scores off another offensive rebound. And then I think that is when, I believe it was Arthur Kaluma, threw the ball in to nobody, and it just rolled to half court, and Oklahoma got it. And then I think got a 3-point play or missed a free throw, but it added more points. That was just an ugly 12-1 stretch of basketball there that ultimately sunk Kansas State's ship. So that's where it broke. But it was startling to me that it broke right after I thought they were going to win because they closed the gap to 7. But once they did that, they couldn't have played worse basketball.
Yep, I saw the same thing. As a matter of fact, when K-State cut it down to 7, I looked over to Brett, who's the producer of the whole show, and I looked at him and said, we're going to win. Because they were scratching and clawing and fighting, even though it really wasn't hitting shots still. Tyler Perry was trying to take over the game, and he scored over 20 points, put a lot of effort into that fight, but Cam Carter and Arthur Kaluma couldn't hit shots. What, offensively to you, I know there's a number of things. Is there one at the top of the list that you find to be the biggest issue with the offense?
The ball gets stuck. There's not enough ball movement, but not enough threats to score. Like, think about the starting lineup. Cam Carter, threat to score. Arthur Kaluma, threat to score. Tyler Perry, threat to score. How big of a threat to score is really David Gasson or Will McNair? If I'm the other team, I don't feel like I have to worry about them as much. So it just feels like there's a little bit of a personnel, debacle here too. And some of that, hey, if Quez Glover was available, if Naquan Tomlin was available, then you have 5 threats to score on the field, on the court at the same time. There's a little bit more space. There's less doubles. There's more room to operate. So for me, it's a little bit of a personnel thing. I realize that they probably have to play 2 bigs some of the time because of this personnel stuff. I'm talking between Terrell Colbert, David Gasson, and Will McNair. But this team is better when David Gasson plays the 5. But they don't have the liberty of always doing that. And then their backcourt, they have some dudes. But they also, some of those dudes are so young that they're not necessarily ready for a large quantity of minutes. I'm talking about Day-Day Ames, and I'm talking about R.J. Jones. So some of it's personnel driven. Some of it's a lack of execution where the ball's getting stuck, you're dribbling too much, those kinds of things. And I think part of it, and I think they're starting to point it out, I think part of it's got to be on the coaching a little bit. And I hate pointing the finger at any one person or any one part of a team. But at some point, when you go an entire first half with only, in my estimation, 3-4 good looks the entire half, it felt like. Now, there was probably more a little bit late, and that's how they stretched out their number to 19 points by the break. But everything felt so hard. And even when it didn't feel hard to score, you get an open look at Arthur Kaluma, and he airballs it by about 5 feet. So it was a combination of personnel stuff, a combination of poor execution with not enough player movement or ball movement, a combination of the coaches not doing a good enough job in the preparation department to find other ways to create matchups and find guys open. And some of it was, apparently it was just never going to be their night because, like I said, that air ball by Arthur Kaluma came up very, very short. That was an air ball by a massive amount of space, and he was open when he actually took that one.
Arthur Kaluma and Cam Carter yesterday combined 3 of 20 from the floor. Both of them, it just wasn't their night. And we've seen this from Tyler Perry where he kind of turns into that running back that will run to the right. It's not there. Now he's running to the left, and he's running 40 yards to pick up 5 yards on the play, and he's not picking up first downs. Tyler Perry putting in a lot of effort. He did get actually some layups to the hoop and draw some and ones. It's really the first time we've this season seen him pull off those kind of plays. Got a couple more for you, DY. I know you're a big body language guy. In an article that you posted on K-State Online, you did mention that, and it just didn't look good in that second half and towards the end of the game. I'm sure this team is pretty stressed out. If you're Jerome Tang, though, how stressed out are you right now about these 3 losses? The offense just isn't looking good right now, piled on with all the drama that took place last month.
I don't know. And Jerome Tate doesn't really strike me as a guy that gets too stressed, but I would just say, like, there was the feud over the Naquan Tomlin stuff. There's back-to-back, pretty critical injuries to Quiz Glover. There's the feud with TJ Otzelberger. There's the remarks about the officials following the loss to Houston publicly, and then having to, just a few days later, walk those back and apologize because you're not following the right protocols. All I am saying is that I do think we've reached that time where they kind of need to return back to that program of joy, bring back a little bit more stability and composure, and control what you can control, focus on the basketball, and keep it on the basketball. I think that's probably necessary. Some of the body language, I'm not going to, unless it becomes a horrible trend, I'm not going to dwell on it too much. I thought some of it was a little poor towards the end of the game, but there was a lot to be frustrated about, and they've been through a lot that most teams don't go through in a season. And you worry that that's maybe beginning to catch up. That's why I'm kind of saying, let's get back to the basketball stuff. Let's get back to smiling, having fun, being that program of joy together, and have some composure and stability so that my players aren't stressed, that my coaches aren't stressed, and we're all enjoying each other's company, enjoying life together, because that's when you play your best basketball. And you just wonder if some of the distractions are catching up a little bit. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn and none of that's the case, and they could slap me around if that's true. You just wonder with some of the body language that I thought I saw, there's some of that's kind of catching up. So, I think it's time to just get back to basketball and what works from a locker room culture standpoint that you've always done in terms of, he got that from Scott Drew, smiling, being about joy, everyone feeling good about themselves and feeling good about each other.
In fact, last night, as I'm watching the first half, sent out the tweet that noted that we're essentially at a milepost right now with this staff. And I put it down as 3 questions. Is the team done, not listening, or is it just the fact that you're hitting a stretch in the Big 12 that's not conducive to success?
Yeah, and I don't think this team is done or quit or anything like that. But I think even in the years that go to plan or go well, you go through ruts. And hopefully this is just that, right? Because this team was pretty sharp last year, right? They for the most part contended for a Big 12 title and went to the Elite Eight and they were the talk of the town. But even during Big 12 play at one point, I think it was the end of January, beginning of February, they lost 4 or 5, and they were blown out by Oklahoma and Norman. So even the good teams do go through spells like this. I'm trying to kind of find the anecdote for them and maybe the cause. And I do think a return just back to the way that they conduct themselves and like to be around one another, and they're just a little bit happier and joy and don't have to worry about distractions. I think a return to that is probably what the doctor ordered.
All right, DY, we've reached our time. Appreciate you coming on once again, and we look forward to the conversation next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Derek Young from KSO Line joins us here on The Game. We got Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, coming up at 4:40. More on K-State Hoops when we come back on The Game. Back on The Game, Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, David G., and Owen Burke. We have the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joining us in about 10, 12 minutes or so. Cats lose yesterday. I don't even think I've mentioned the score yet. 73-53 to the Oklahoma Sooners, a team that I thought in Mitch Palm was, they can play good offense. They can play good defense. Right now, numbers say they're middle of the pack of the Big 12. Really, so does the Big 12 standings say that. as they're now 4-4 in the Big 12 along with K-State. But they had yet to find consistency. They were okay on offense, did not shoot the three well. But Oklahoma, and we've seen this all season long, where early on in the year, with this 5-out offense, without having Naquan Tomlin on the floor, which would have benefited him the most out of anybody else, weaknesses have been exposed. And Oklahoma attacked that last night. I can't tell you how many times Tyler Perry, off a high ball screen, was double-teamed and made uncomfortable. I will give credit to Tyler where he did not turn it over in those situations. But Oklahoma did a fantastic job of keeping K-State really just uncomfortable on the offensive side of the ball. It was an uncomfortable night. And I said it yesterday that, K-State just needs to chill out on the turnovers because they're shooting the ball actually pretty decent right now. Their three-point shooting numbers are starting to climb. Early on in Big 12 play, they did a good job of getting into the paint, getting paint touches, getting paint points. We've seen a lack of paint touches these last 3 games. It's more, and when I say more, it's like not a big jump or anything, but it is a little bit more three-point shooting, relying on the three-point shot, and it's been tougher to get guys open. Teams are selling out to K-State, make them uncomfortable on offense because this team struggles to get around guys on the dribble drive. Tyler Perry struggles to beat a guy one-on-one to the hoop, and he really fought his tail off to try to carry this team, and he did finish with 23 points. The offense has many issues right now. To me, it all starts with the start of the game. They come out not scoring, and we've seen this 3 straight games now. It's been the same trend for these 3 straight games. Again, tough competition. One game was at home. Oklahoma is not as good as Iowa State and Houston. But guys, in the last 3 games, taking the first 5.5 minutes of the last 3 games combined, K-State's been outscored 31-4.
Jesus.
To start games. It's been tough. They're not coming out making shots. They've turned it over a little bit, not rebounding. But I thought rebounding and turnovers were a little bit better against Oklahoma. But Oklahoma wanted to contest shots. That left K-State taking some bad shots. And then when they were getting some open looks, they weren't making them. But even last night, and I agree with DY, I did not see this coming. I was not expecting this kind of performance. And it's been brought up many times that Jerome Tang, through a year and 2/3, roughly, that he's only lost 3 games. Well, in all 3 of those games, K-State has played a really rough half of basketball. It was the second half against Texas last year, where Texas scored 44 points. For K-State against Nebraska, it was a horrible second half where they only scored 12 points. And then it was really a first half against yesterday, obviously, because K-State didn't score for the first 8.5 minutes. We watched last night K-State play their bottom level of basketball. But also, defensively, I know we want to get on the refs. The refs took a ton of heat last night. Jerome Tang calls out an official after the Houston game. And then on, the game last week against Iowa State, I thought the officiating was horrible. But at the same time, you could blame the refs. K-State right now has a problem with defending without fouling. And K-State now in 3 straight games have allowed its opponent to go to the free throw line at least 34 times.
You take the complaint about the officiating out of it, and the fact is that there is a book out for them even on how this team plays, and they're recognizing that right now this team is a step slow defensively, thus the foul calls. It really comes down to, okay, this is what the trends are with this team, and even the referees are picking up on that. I shouldn't say even, but they recognize what's going on and see that K-State's not in positions to be successful defensively right now.
K-State free throw attempts the last 2 games Opponents have taken 112. K-State has taken 60. A major difference. But also, first half of these last 3 games, or actually the last 5, K-State has not held a lead in the last 5 games at halftime. And 3 of those 5 games have been at home. 2 of them they've battled back. To me, that's a big key. They put themselves in early holes. And now we've seen for 5 straight games them trying to just, gloves off, throw them to the floor. It's a fist fight. We got to fight our way back into the game. And, the last 3 games, the deficit has been 16 points. You can take away the Houston game. Houston was just so on Saturday. They were just so on, nobody was going to beat them. It was an even game in the second half, but was Houston totally invested? Probably not. They put up a great fight in Ames. And I thought against Oklahoma, we finally saw some frustration set in. They fought within 7. Oklahoma goes on a little bit of a run. Sloppy play by K-State. And now Oklahoma, all of a sudden, after they were just up 7, now they're up 11, 13 points. And it completely took the air out of Bramlage. People are leaving with 7 minutes to go. And the team, I don't think, really wanted to be out there anymore. Maybe felt a little bit embarrassed because they had such a bad first half. So I know Jerome Tang has mentioned that there's things to address. This is on him. I think the players definitely need some accountability as well on this because of the missed open shots that, there were a number of shots where K-State was down to single digits. Would have been a huge bucket. The place would have blown up. You may have got sandstorm or something, but the shots were missed. So I don't know. This team is in a rough spot right now where they've entered a tougher difficulty of competition in Big 12 play, and they're not winning the games. And now, Saturday, I can't stress enough how needed that win is. Resume aside, let's not even think about that right now. That's not priority number 1. I know the goal now is, the mid-season goals have shifted. Where now you're hoping you want 9-9. And 9-9 is a pretty respectable, that's the magic number. 9-9, that's the magic record to get to the NCAA tournament. Saturday is more than just, hey, if we lose this game, this is going to hurt our resume. They just need to get right. They need to go beat somebody. Mm-hmm. 1 win can do a lot for your team. But this team feels so down right now, just off body language, and Jerome Tang takes those late timeouts. I'm like, I thought he was mad at Porter Mosier. That's what I thought it was, but he said he was trying to send a message to his team. They just need to get right now, and there's not a lot going well right now. They've lost 3 straight, but again, they're 4-4. It's not the end of the world. They're not giving up.
I'm curious if today was a day that was set aside for rest and recovery and mental rest and recovery, given that you have until Saturday again. Mm-hmm. Just a thought. Or is this a day that it was back to the lab? Just curious what the approach was. We'll find out, but interested to see how the staff approached it.
When we come back, we shift directions to the AFC Championship game. Mitch Holthus is going to let Owen know all about the Ravens losing the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are now off to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. The voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, is next.
KMAN.
Now look at your News Radio KMAN area forecast. Currently 69 and fair outside. Tonight, increasing clouds with a low around 44. Tomorrow, a chance of sprinkles between noon and 3. Partly sunny with a high near 67. Thursday night, partly cloudy with a low around 42. And on Friday, mostly cloudy, a high near 60. We've got more of the game up next here on News Radio KMAN.
For the 4th time in 5 years, the Kansas City Chiefs will play for the whole enchilada. This year just happens to be in Las Vegas, Nevada, Super Bowl 58, in less than 2 weeks after the Chiefs beat the Ravens in Baltimore, 17-10. Now joined by the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Mitch, before we get to the Chiefs, well, what do the Cats got to do to fix things basketball-wise offensively? Do you have the magic potion?
No, and I didn't. I was listening to Wyatt in the stand. I was in a meeting late last night, but I was listening to him for a good portion of the game, and it sounded like there were decent shots. They weren't hitting them. I think they're pressing it right now. You know, they were playing with such confidence that those shots fall when you're playing with confidence. And I thought the Iowa State game, which that was like two teams with a stick beating on each other. I mean, that would have been a hard game. These games are hard to officiate. You can call a foul almost every time. It's like everybody's turned into West Virginia and Bob Huggins. Does it feel that way to you guys? Like everybody's just pulling and biting, and you're going to call it? You can't call it every time. That's what it feels like. Teams are so physical now, but I just think that somehow they got to pull the Chiefs off here, figure out a way to get some sets and early some easy buckets, and not just launch threes. Easier said than done, but attack the rack early, or get some mid-range twos that you think you can hit, and then keep defending like crazy, and try to create offense with your defense. That game could have flipped last night. I felt like in that 15-minute to about 9-minute area, but there were shots. They couldn't get inside single digits for the longest time, and just missed great opportunities. So there you go. Get some sets, try to get some easy twos, try to go at the basket or mid-range twos, and play great defense, create some offense with your defense.
Yeah, that's been a common denominator in the 3-game losing streak. The Cats just not enough paint touches, not enough paint success, too much in the half court going on for K-State to really get the offense going inside. Meanwhile, in Baltimore on Sunday, another AFC Championship win after I'm sure a lot were doubting the Chiefs in getting it done in Baltimore. Question is, though, are you still having fun with these, or is it as fun as the first one, or are you just now in a routine going to the Super Bowl?
No, I'm not. It's not routine at all. Although I'm going to get into what is a little bit of routine that I think is an advantage this week. But no, when you go 21 years and don't win a playoff game, you savor every second of it. But this team's been its own personality to win a game at minus 30 wind chill and then go to Buffalo and win into that environment where they were waiting years for that moment. And the same with Philadelphia, but Baltimore waiting since 1970 and then wanted to beat the Chiefs in the worst way to get that done. I mean, this Chiefs team has unusual toughness and grit and resilience. And I know that sounds cliche, but truthfully, that's what this team is. And it started the week of the Raiders game, and it started with the offensive line. After getting embarrassed against the Raiders, they were like, no more, nope. And they've kind of led the way. And then getting the week off was big. I told you guys that when they played and beat the Chargers, which was an infusion of adrenaline without playing all the starter guys, and then having Mahomes and Kelsey back out and look at life from 30,000 feet. That just, all those things have added to this 5-game winning streak and playing for the show.
I've heard it many times this year, Mitch, that Travis Kelce, he's getting old, he's slowing down, he's not getting up as quickly as he used to. Maybe he's not the best tight end in the NFL anymore. And then Sunday, 11 catches on 12 targets for $116 and a touchdown. Is Travis Kelce still the man?
Yes, he is, and all you have to do is watch one of the more incredible throws I've seen a quarterback make and one of the more incredible catches I've seen a pass catcher make on the touchdown of 19 yards. And Kyle Hamilton couldn't play it any better. He was there with outstanding coverage, and then Mahomes made a spectacular throw, and Kelsey made an unbelievable catch. Now, that week off, remember, Kelsey did something that was unselfish. He could have gone for the record in the game against the Chargers. He decided not to. And people go, well, all he has to go out there is win or get 2 catches and then run off the field. Well, that's not the way it works. He's going to be getting warmed up and use a lot of fuel. Instead, he said, no, what? The rest is better. He's been a different guy since that game where he got to back up and rest in that final game against the Chargers. I've never seen him so juiced and fired up for a game like I was this week against Baltimore. I mean, it was William Wallace waiting for the Brits to show up. Like, he was screaming. I'm like, man, beware of dog. Everybody stay away from Kels. And then he sees Justin Tucker out there messing with his quarterback, and he's like, get your stuff out of here. I mean, that was weird. But Kels wasn't going to take any crap from anybody. In fact, that was the big key of that game. The Chiefs took the fight right to the Ravens. Ravens didn't like it. And when the Chiefs got up 10 points, the Ravens really lost their poise.
Well, I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on just the defense and the way they perform. I mean, holding the Ravens to 10 points is big, but also, I mean, to me, the big stat was 3 turnovers. It seemed like at least 2 of the 3 couldn't have been at a better time.
Well, and they're no question, but the play by Snead is big time. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that Amenahu gets hurt, but his turnover we didn't score on. But the play by Snead's big time. Like, in Zay Flowers, like, he's played in one playoff game. It's one. And he gets a 54-yard gain, and he's going to spin the ball in Snead's face and then push him down and do the dog fire hydrant thing. What? And then 2 plays later, he gets stripped of the ball, and now he's over despondent on the bench. Well, hello, it's the AFC Championship game. But those are big-time plays. And then the interception in the end zone was just Lamar Jackson making a big mistake. And with Deion Bush, a guy who's been a journeyman and special teams guy, to get the interception. So that was awesome for Deion. But the Chiefs. It goes back to our discussions we had all throughout the year. And the Chiefs, if people are like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? They're messed up. They're no good. Let's see. They lead the league in drops. Yeah. They've got the most offensive holding penalties in the league. Yep. Oh my gosh, they're minus 11 in the giveaway takeaway ratio. But I'm going, wait a minute. They've won 9 games, or at that point they've won 9 games and were ready to win the division. So it must mean there's a pillar somewhere or some concrete of getting them to the. And if they fix this other stuff, they look what the force they could be. Well, they fixed the other stuff. They're not committing penalties. They had no false starts in Buffalo or against Baltimore or Buffalo. 0. And they just didn't get behind the chains that much. They played awesome, and they've forced turnovers. They forced 4 in 3 playoff games, and they're +2 in the playoffs. So, but the concrete, was always there, and that's defense, and that's Kelsey, and that's Mahomes. Even if they're not playing at a high statistical level, they're still going to play at a high level on a consistent basis.
Mitch, I just want to point out real quick, our resident Baltimore Ravens fan, Owen, is pouting a little bit. This is probably the roughest interview he's ever had to sit through. So,
like, what's going on? I mean, his Ravens, I know he loves them, and hang in there with them, buddy, but they lost their poise. And Lamar's got to do it. I mean, he's 2-4 in the playoffs. And until he gets that 3rd one or 4th one or gets through this threshold of getting and winning a championship game, don't say he's Mahomes. Not when Mahomes was 14-3 and ties Peyton Manning, Terry Bradshaw, and John Elway with his 14th playoff win. And he's less than 30 years old, and only in 6 years.
Mitch, you mentioned Charles Amenahu with the ACL tear on the strip sack. After that took place, I mean, Chris Jones was playing more outside, but Felix Anudike-Uzomah has been inactive for the postseason so far. So does this now turn into – I mean, do you expect this to be Felix now available, going to play in the Super Bowl and have an opportunity?
Yeah, I think it will. And, again, he won't be out there 50 snaps. But if he can give them 15 good snaps, both on the interior and exterior, remember he can do both. You're going to need to do that against the 49ers. But I think he can actually be a force in this game and help them win. The other one that's interesting is Boydo has not been – he was active for Miami, but not the last 2. And I just think they want Nick Jones out there at the gunner position, but I would expect Boydo would be inactive. But right now, I would think that it would be Felix who would get a chance to fill in for the Amenahu role.
All right, Mitch. Well, when does the trip out to Vegas? When does the itinerary kick off?
The itinerary kicks off basically when we landed the plane from Baltimore, truthfully. And let me tell you guys this. This is something I don't think the fans, when we didn't go to this game, and you're only dreaming of going to this game in 21 years without a playoff win, and maybe you guys have thought this too, why is there a bye week? Like, just play.
Yeah.
Like, we got to play. No. I've learned going to this game 4 times in 5 weeks, you need every second of the bye week. And the Chiefs have done an excellent job doing and handling the bye week. The football side, the business side, it's a ponderous amount of details that go into playing a Super Bowl and getting ready to play a Super Bowl. Just think about if you guys are going, hey, who's going to go? Friends and family, take care of your tickets. Where are they going to stay? How are they going to get out there? Well, all that gets done basically before Thursday morning. That'll be done before tomorrow morning. Kid you not. Like, get your stuff taken care of. Now, so the theme of this week is get your business taken care of so that next week we can take care of business. And I've said this, and I've learned this. You can't win the game this week, but you can lose the game during this bye week. If you don't handle your stuff, because once you get wheels down in Vegas or any Super Bowl site, oh my gosh, it is like the old floods of the Blue River before Tuttle Creek. It will wash you away because next week is nothing but a distraction. And there are external distractions and there are media distractions and NFL requirements. And you get swept away to the point you even forget there's a football game. But this week, this bye week, take care of your business. And the Chiefs have been excellent at that.
Well, Mitch, we're coming up on a break. Once again, I appreciate your time here on the show, and I know soon we'll have an actual game, an actual Super Bowl to talk about. So looking forward to that next conversation. And, Mitch, thank you for your time.
You got it. We'll chat next Wednesday, and we'll know more and get ready to try to win a fourth Lombardi trophy for the franchise.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Mitch.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus here on the game, and let's go ahead and end hour number 1 and get to a break. We have a short hour number 2, but we'll get back to K-State hoops. Not just the men, but the women are playing tonight at Oklahoma, and that tips off at 6. We'll have pregame coverage beginning at 5:30. And Ask Us Anything will wrap up the show. Short hour 2 next on the game.
You're locked into the game on News Radio.
It is a short hour to the game after work. Mitch Fortner, Trey Coverdale, David G., and Owen Burke. We could squeeze in a call or two if you want to chime in about the Cats. 537-1350 is the phone number. More hoops here in just a moment. Owen, how are you doing after the AFC Championship game? You're 3 days removed of the pain and suffering that took place. How are you?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking, firstly. I'm doing okay now. It got worse today. Mike McDonald took the Seahawks job, so we lose.
Got to expect that, though.
Yeah, I know that's expected. I was expecting more out of my own franchise, honestly. Every year that passes, more and more Ravens fans want John Harbaugh out. And I know I've been a steadfast believer in Harbaugh for a while, but this is one of the times where I kind of joined that crew. I was hoping we lost a front office guy to the Chargers, right? Jim Harbaugh's bringing in a guy that worked close with his brother. I was like, all right, move John up into that spot. I knew it wasn't going to happen because we're scheduled to play the Chargers this year, but I was like, move John up, make Mike McDonald the head coach, and I would have been happy. I knew it was going to happen. As far as the game goes, I don't know what third grader was calling plays for us on Sunday, but we handed the ball off to our running back 6 times. Our season low is 15. We're 11-1 when our running backs get more than 20 touches. We were 3-4 when they had under 20. Season low 6 on Sunday.
How'd you feel about Lamar Jackson only carrying the ball 8 times?
I
Were
mean,
you expecting more?
I wasn't, honestly.
Really?
He hasn't been running the ball a ton this year. Like I said.
Well, yeah, you want to keep him healthy.
Yeah.
And
I will say there were a couple times where I wanted him to run and he didn't. So it was a little bit of both, where when I look at the box score, I was like, I'm okay with 8 carries. Now, watching the game, there's a couple plays that the strip sack by Aminihu, if you watch a still of about probably 3 seconds before he got sacked, there are 3 running lanes open and 10, 20 yards of grass, and we lose the football there, and that was a tough one. The pick in the end zone was tough. And, people asked him afterwards, do you feel like you were doing too much on that interception? Obviously, he's going to say no. My thing is, if you're not confident in the plays your offensive coordinator's calling for you all day, and you got a 7-point game, would you try to do a little too much? I would. I mean, I might force the ball there. So, I don't know. I'm okay, but it was definitely a rough Sunday.
DG, our Chiefs fan, seemed to be doing okay.
You know, I learned something on Sunday. I learned how to spell out Lamar Jackson in sign language. Ooh-wee, boy!
That was DG grabbing at his throat and making, of course, a choke sound.
Oh my God!
Listen,
how
that's better sign language than what Eminem was displaying on Sunday.
He was not happy.
I feel bad for the Lions fans, honestly.
That one was, for me, I mean, I don't want to dance on anybody's grave, but
Sure you don't.
That was brutal. They'll get it one day. One day, they're gonna get it, and they're gonna put it together. And boy, the Baltimore Ravens they're gonna get to the Super Bowl, but not this year. I don't. Was sad. The Roquan Smith thing, that was wild. That was wild.
This is 2 times in Lamar Jackson's 6 years where I felt like this is our best shot, and both times our offensive play calling has just disappeared in that playoff game. Happened in 2019 against Tennessee. I don't know if we're going to get another shot, honestly. I mean, we're going to lose. We lose Mac McDonald this year. We probably lose Monken next year, the year after. You cannot lose these opportunities, and the Chiefs never do. So
Spagnuolo in preparations for the game, telling his defense, guys, we're going to try and make Lamar a pocket passer. He didn't realize that Harbaugh was just going to take care of that job for him.
Yeah, no kidding. You're not wrong. I didn't think our offense would do that as well. So as far as Kansas City goes, honestly, I was more hurt by the fans after the game than I was by the game itself. Like,
because of the booing?
Well, it's not even – it's how people treated me afterwards. Because I was on the show with Mitch last week. I'm the respectful fan, right? I know Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. I love the game at the end of the day. I'll watch a good offense and enjoy myself. So I have coworkers and a couple buddies that are coming at me. I'm like, whoa. I was like, it's going to be a dogfight. You have the best quarterback in the game, but I feel like my guys played the best football in the last 10 weeks. I'm Mr. Respectful. And so, like, if you want to celebrate the win. Post on Twitter. Do everything. You deserve to be able to enjoy going to the Super Bowl for a 4th time in 5th year. Coming at me, I'm like, man.
Hey, those guys, you do me, sorry, but do me a favor. Those guys, you go back and you go, tell them, go up to them and say, Scott Pioli. And if they don't groan and moan and go, oh, boy, yeah, that's not a real Chiefs fan.
Fair enough.
It's just like Mitch said. There's a time where the Chiefs didn't do anything for 20 years. And so anybody that's like, hey, got you, is a front runner and someone who doesn't understand that it is America. I mean, it's really to get to where the Chiefs have gotten these past seasons, like in a row, is it's incredible, and it could be so much worse.
Yeah,
it could be so much worse, and for the Chiefs, it has been.
I was a fan way back in the day,
dude.
I was a fan up until Tony Gonzalez left for Atlanta. I was like, all right, I have nothing to look forward to. Get me out of here. I had a Larry Johnson jersey growing up. I'll admit it.
Dark days.
Yeah,
dark days.
I know that fan base has long suffered. So I've always been one that's like, I have buddies that are Chiefs fans. I'm like, if it's not me that's going to be happy at the end of the day, I'm glad it's somebody that I can root for. But I will tell you that Sunday night I was like, I think I've finally given into it. I might be a Chiefs hater come Super Bowl Sunday. Now, I think that was more the emotion talking. We'll see how the next 2 weeks play out. Mitch didn't take any crazy jabs at me in the first hour, so
well, if you choose to become a diehard NFL fan, you have to be ready at all times for cheap shots.
Yeah.
From fans that aren't rooting for your team or rooting against your team.
Yeah. That's the thing that sucked is I was expecting it. People on Twitter, not my friends. I didn't expect my friends to turn the barrel on me, and I'm like, hey man, I've been nothing but nice all week long. Like, what am I? What are you turning on me? And I will say, I love Travis Kelce. I love New Heights. I've always loved him. This whole Justin Tucker smear campaign that's going on, I'm glad that Mitch didn't stick on it too much. I don't get it. I don't enjoy it. He's one of the most well-liked and has never been complained about. People are going after him. I don't know. I'm not happy about that part. But at the end of the day, football is football. I'm not going to let it ruin my entire week. I'm happy for my friends that are Chiefs fans.
You mean you're not going to throw an entire fit over Taylor Swift's involvement with Jason Kelce and turn that into your reason to not watch the game on Sunday?
No, and see, that's the other thing. Is
Taylor Swift was booed at Bramlage Coliseum last night.
What?
Which is hilarious.
Somebody had a cutout of her, just like one of those jumbo cutouts or whatever, and they got a mixed reaction.
It's hilarious because volleyball did an entire Taylor Swift night earlier in the year. It made no sense that she got booed last night.
It's still, I don't understand the hate. I really don't.
I don't either.
I don't get it.
I've never bought into it, so like that part's never bothered me. The constant wins, beating my favorite team. Never been the Chiefs hater, but boy, those couple of people that texted me on Sunday
my
night.
brain can't go there. It's like, how does a person being shown on TV bother you so much? I don't get it.
You must have.
What am I missing?
Yeah, you have not a lot going on in your life. If that really bugs you, I'm like, I feel sorry for your everyday life, truthfully.
Meanwhile, we got 3 pretty big NFL fans in here that root for different teams. You know, of course, know, I love the Cowboys or whatever, but everybody knows my story by now. Troy, the Denver Broncos are seriously considering trading up to draft Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
We'll keep that in. We'll give him one of those a week.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand. It comes down to this. With what money? With what money?
Dude, weed is legal, man. It's the legalization of weed money.
New ownership.
There is still a salary cap in the league, and you just are about to take an $80 million hit annually because you were stupid and signed a guy for 5 years.
No, I think they'll be able to offload that contract. There's
With what?
They got cash for clunkers. Why does the NFL say, "Hey, you don't like that contract anymore? Trade it in." We got a Toyota Highlander here. It's 200,000 miles.
Listen, if you're gonna make the joke, at least make it a Ford Bronco, okay?
Let's ride Ford Bronco.
Listen, Caleb Williams is like anybody but the Bears.
And that's a valid point. I mean,
and that's what I heard.
Which used to be the Browns.
We kind of talked about last year.
But honestly, does he want to play for Sean Payton?
Eat him up. He would eat him up, I think. Sean Payton wouldn't mess with any of that.
Yeah, that's. I don't like this rumor. This smells odd. It's just odd all the way around.
We have KSO women's basketball tonight. They take on the Oklahoma Sooners as the Cats put the second longest winning streak in women's college basketball on the line. They are the number 2 team in the nation on both the AP and coaches poll. 20-1 is K-State's record, 9-0 in Big 12 play. The Sooners are 13-6, 7-1 in the conference. From the Lloyd Noble Center, K-State did win the first meeting already this year, and that was 3 weeks ago, where K-State won that game. But now you don't have Ayoka Lee, and I'll give you a real quick key to the game. Try to stop Skylar Vann, who is going to be, I think, the top option to attack the paint. Get those paint touches, go rebound. She's their leading rebounder at 7 a game. She's their best scorer at 15 points a game. She's more of an inside scorer than she is an outside scorer. She's a 6'1" forward. I think she's 6'1". But anyway, the thing is, Oklahoma doesn't have a ton of size. They do have talent. They have not lost since playing K-State 3 weeks ago. They are second in the Big 12, so literally first place on the line in the Big 12 with tonight's game. It's a big game.
Huge.
That K-State's about to play without Ayoka Lee. You start to think, does K-State's luck start to run out now with Ayoka Lee not on the floor for, roughly a month, roughly 7 or 8 games? They've played 3 and they're 3-0, but can they get it done at Oklahoma? My thought is, if you can win at Baylor, you can win at Oklahoma. It can absolutely be done. K-State's size is so important with how well they play defense. Their reach. I mean, you have 6-footers all over the place. Oklahoma doesn't have the most size this season.
Ooh, eat them up.
I mean, their tallest player, I believe, is Beatrice Culleton, who's 6'3", and she's a backup 5. who's averaging 3 points a game. But Skylar Vann is a very good player, and she's one of the best in the Big 12 in scoring the basketball. And she's coming off a 21-point game in Oklahoma's last game. Boy, another thing about Oklahoma, they play fast. They are, I think, the fastest-paced team, and if you look at the shot numbers, they get up shots, and I think they're the fastest-paced team in the country. So K-State will have to try to shut that down without Aoka Lee, and they're going to have to step it up on defense, hit some shots. But this is a winnable game. No doubt about it. And then, of course, they have Texas this weekend. So it is a 2-game road trip that will not be easy.
No.
Will not be easy for K-State to keep this winning streak intact.
Texas is going to be so amped for that game this weekend. You hope that there's not a lot of energy that has to be expended tonight going into that game. But, again, first things first.
Well, and it's important to look at as well, Aoka Lee scoring in the game 3 weeks ago against the Sooners. It took her a while to get going. She did not get going until the fourth quarter. Now, that was, of course, a big part of why K-State was able to pull away. K-State wins 74-57. And I'm trying to pull up the box score real quick because I can't remember exactly how, with the stat line, how Aoka Lee finished the game. But she was the leading scorer with 19 points and 6 rebounds. And I think over 10 of that was in the fourth quarter.
Damn.
So that was a big part of the separation. And now Skylar Vann in that first game was 14 points, 8 rebounds. So she's going to go get some rebounds. Can you try to shut her down offensively in the paint, box her out? Because the players that are in for Yoki taking her minutes while she's out aren't as big and aren't as strong. They're skinnier. They're not as strong. When you're trying to body somebody up defensively, they just don't have the strength to hold somebody off. And we saw that on Saturday against BYU with Gustin, and Gustin went off. And she's 6'3", and you could tell from a distance that she gets in the weight room. So that's the big question. And tonight's tip-off is just a few minutes after 6 o'clock, and we will join pregame coverage in about 8 minutes. We'll wrap up the show next with Ask Us Anything after these words.
Miss any of the show? Check out the Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and of course, NewsRadioKMAN.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Two, one.
It's 1350. It's KMAN. And it's,
that is correct.
Got a lot going on here, boys. Would you rather Wednesday? Would you rather eat an entire raw onion or 10 Butterfingers king-size candy bars? I know it's random.
I'm in for the Butterfingers. Thank you.
Man, both really have those side effects, right?
Yeah, Butterfingers getting caught in your teeth.
Yeah, boy, I'm okay with Butterfingers.
I love Butterfingers.
10? But the thing, okay,
hey,
so
listen, I've got a Sonicare. I'm good. Thank you.
So raw onion will make you cry.
Yeah.
I don't like to cry when I eat.
Oh.
So I'm gonna go candy bars.
Dude,
I'm gonna go Butterfingers.
Your A1C skyrocketing as we speak.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with the guys on this one. Now, if I could just slap a bun around this whole raw onion, maybe
hey, listen,
dress it up a little bit, maybe you could talk me into it.
If that's what it took to watch you eat a whole onion, if you had to put 2 buns on there and maybe some ketchup, I'm cool with that. Go right ahead.
I might do it at that point, but it's definitely going to need some dressing up.
The old days of having to literally hand make the onion rings at Sonic on a Sunday morning after being out at the yeah, no thank you. Butterfingers every day.
That's fantastic.
Have you ever been in that spot where you're eating and you're crying at the same time?
Out of like
well, okay.
yeah, embarrassment.
I think that was me on Sunday night.
You're eating your Domino's, and meanwhile you're trying not to cry.
Sit in my car.
This salsa's a little wet.
We got about 90 seconds. You have another question?
Dude, you want another question? I got another question, man. Would you rather be a Boston College fan right now or a DePaul basketball fan right now?
Oh, Boston College is losing their head coach to become the D coordinator for the Packers because he just wants to coach football.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the college game, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, it's tough to cheat at Boston College with the academic standards. It's so high.
I would rather be a Boston College fan because at least there's a chance that you're still going to accomplish something. Do you know how bad DePaul basketball has been?
Bad.
I remember there was a time where like DePaul was actually a
sure.
a pretty
They had
decent
Chicago.
name.
They had Chicago players, but Rod Strickland's not walking through that door.
Hey, they came to Bramlage when we made the NIT one year and beat the brakes off of K-State, man. I'll never forget that. Awful.
We're done. We're out here at 5:30 with K-State women's basketball. Coming up next, Brian Smoller, Randy Peterson on the broadcast as they take on the Oklahoma Sooners. The Cats looking for the season sweep down in Norman from the Lloyd Noble Center. That's going to wrap it up for the show. For Owen, DG, Troy, I'm Mitch. Enjoy the broadcast. Go Cats.